Oh, somebody's mad at me and I haven't even started yet. Lisa, I don't know why you're mad at me. You don't even know what I'm gonna say. I mean, I'm gonna be like critical, but I don't understand how you can jump to the conclusion that I think Walls is better. But yeah, anyway, so I'm gonna get to the topic here. If you're watching live, comment. I'd love to see your comments. Share, like, dislike. I don't care. Whatever you need to do. I'd love to. Even angry hate watchers. I'm not saying there's hate watchers, but I tell even my hate watchers that I'm always glad for any kind of view because it pushes me up in the algorithm, and we could all use that. Well, not all of us. Not everybody has a YouTube channel. If you do have a YouTube channel, you can always use help getting pushed up in the algorithm. So yeah, anyway, welcome. Thanks for coming in and taking part in Drive Time Dialectics. I want to go back and remind everybody that we are far from done. What do I mean? The last 2.5 years of the COOF restrictions, COOF, COOF, we say COOF so that things don't get flagged. The last 2.5 years, especially 2020 into 2021, we spent a lot of time under the thumb of Governor Tim Walz, and what he did during that time frame was just absolutely absolutely ludicrous. It was evil, it was tyrannical, it was despotic, it was absolutely atrocious. It was responsible for the destruction of the Minnesota economy, especially small businesses. Small business owners suffered unquantifiable damage to their livelihood, and their entrepreneurial spirit was crushed, and just absolutely devastated by what Tim Walz did, with the full support of the executive committee or executive council, whatever it's called now, and ultimately by the Minnesota House of Representatives, and really by a spineless Minnesota Senate, led by the Republicans. The Minnesota GOP was spineless in its endeavors to do anything.Sion of those things would have been they had the ability and the authority to can Jan Malcolm, and they didn't. And I'm just at a loss to defend their positions. Now, how does this tie in? Scott Jensen. So Jensen early on made a big deal about being against mask mandates and against the stay-at-home orders and the lockdown and the essential worker protocols and all of that. And I applaud him for that position. It's a very strong position for people to take, for someone, especially in the medical field, to take. It's a very, very strong position, and it's a very dangerous position as well, in the respect that it could have cost him his career. And they did go after Scott on numerous occasions, trying to get him stripped of his medical licensure through the Minnesota Medical Board. And I have a massive amount of respect for him for doing that. And Where I struggle is, somebody said, all politicians make promises they can't keep. That's chess. First of all, I don't, when it comes to promises, I don't want politicians making me promises in the sense of, I'm going to do this for you, 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 and I'm going to do this for you. The one thing that I want politicians to promise, the one thing that I want them to do is promise me. I don't want them to promise me personal benefit or personal gain. I also don't want them to make these pie in the sky promises to affect something that's particularly in my wheelhouse in and of itself, just because it's in my wheelhouse. What I want a politician to do, a person who's running to be a public servant, is to promise to take that oath that they're going to take when they're elected, and they take that position that they've been elected to, whatever it might be. In this case, let's say governor. I want them to take that oath and take it seriously. And that promise that I want there, the promise that we should all want there, is that they stand on their oath, period. Regardless of the party that they're in, regardless of the position that they hold, they should take that oath seriously and they should stand on it. That's the promises that they should make. Now, what's my quantifiable beef with Jensen in this regard? And the conversation is continuing to ensue about who's better. On one hand, everybody knows, if you're even a pinch of reasonable and logical, everybody knows Walz is bad news. Everybody knows that. I don't think that Jensen's going to beat him next week. I really don't. I don't think that the voting base in the major metro areas is going to be outgunned by the Rocks and Cows, greater Minnesota area. I just don't see it happening. Lisa, thanks for asking who is better, Walz or Jensen. Jensen, on a purely platform issue, Jensen is better than Walz, in the sense that I have much more in agreement with the Minnesota GOP platform than I do with the DFL platform. And the gubernatorial nominee for each party swears to uphold the platform of their parties. So in that regard, Jensen is definitely a far better candidate. And I think he also has more conservative credentials than anybody else in the race that has a chance of winning right now. However, like I said, I don't think that Jensen's ability to beat Walz is going to manifest. When you take into consideration Duluth, Mankato, Rochester, Minneapolis, and St. Paul, the three major metro areas, and the reality of how heavy the voting bloc goes blue in those areas, I just don't see them overcoming Jensen Burke ticket, overcoming the Walz Flanagan ticket. I don't see it. Now, I could be wrong. The pragmatic, practical side of me absolutely wants Walz out of office. Absolutely. And because I don't think McCaskill can beat Walz, and I don't necessarily think McCaskill's the better candidate than Jensen, although I do tend to have stronger paleo-libertarian, Mises libertarian affections and affiliations now. I definitely believe that Well, I don't, Lisa. I don't get why you're so angry at me. I mean, I appreciate the super chats for me to say, you know, I wish I don't know how to, can I share them? I can't share them while I'm doing this. I appreciate that you're saying I'm trying to be practical here. I'm trying to be practical in the reality that we have a very strong blue voting bloc in the major metro areas. Normally, in any state that has strong major metro areas that are blue, I don't see Walz overcoming that, and it's not an issue of faith. I really don't. And like I said, I want Jensen to beat Walz. I don't see it happening. Not because I hate him. I don't hate him. I don't hate Walz. I don't hate Walz. I don't hate Jensen. I definitely think Jensen's a better candidate. I just don't think he's going to beat him. I think that Jensen has made a lot of mistakes. Part of that has been abandoning the inner city, where people were begging in the inner city areas, Minneapolis and St. Paul in particular. People were begging the Republican Party to give them a reason to vote for them, and they ignored them. They certainly did open a Republican office for the Somali community, the Somali conservative base, or Somali Republicans. But you cannot open a Somali Republican office and think that that covers all of your inner city minorities, especially inner city black people, because black and Somali are not synonymous. They're not the same thing. They don't have the same culture. The Somali culture is not the same as inner city black culture. The conservative Somali community is not the same as the inner city Hispanic culture. And so I just don't know that enough was done to penetrate and permeate the inner city, the blue voting bloc. It's going to be a tough fight. Now, I want to go back to the convention in May. The Minnesota GOP convention. I was on the floor to hear this. I heard it from the platform. I wasn't on the platform. I heard Jensen say this from the platform. One of the things that Jensen said, and this upsets me because I don't want, it's a promise he shouldn't have made. Two, it was the wrong thing to say, period. And three, it was, I think it was unethical. Scott Jensen promised that he was going to commute Kim Porter's sentence from the stage at the convention. Kim Potter was found guilty by a jury of her peers. Okay? A jury of her peers. He made that promise. He was going to commute the sentence of a woman who killed an unarmed man, be it through negligence or intentionally, whatever. She was convicted and committed to a term in prison. Scott Jensen promised that one of the first things he was going to do was commute the sentence of Kim Potter. She broke the law. She broke an actual law, like a law that everyone should be able to support. She committed homicide. Intentionally or not, she committed homicide. And she was convicted. What I haven't heard Scott Jensen promise was to go through and commute all the sentences. Right, Dennis and Patrick, everybody applauded it. Not me, but everybody applauded what he said from the platform that day. But what I haven't heard Scott Jensen say, Mr. I'm going to fight the mandates, Mr. I'm going to fight the mask mandates, I'm going to fight the lockdowns, I'm going to tell you why all of this stuff is wrong, I'm going to tell you why we're handling this wrong. And he was right. We were handling it all wrong. The state of Minnesota, under Walz, handled the freaking COOF restrictions all wrong. All freaking wrong. He was wrong. He was wrong. He was wrong. Scott Jensen was right about how wrong Walz is. Absolutely right. But Scott Jensen was wrong to promise to commute Kim Potter's sentence. And he's also wrong for not going to and now saying to the Lisa Hansons and the Lisa Monet Zarzas and the Larvita McFarquhars and all of these other businesses who face criminal penalties. Lisa Hanson went to jail. She went to jail. She's going back to trial next month. Scott Jensen has been silent about what he was going to do for those people. Why not promise to commute Lisa Hanson's sentences and to have her record expunged? Why not a promise as a governor to find a way to do that? Where is the promise from the candidate for Attorney General, Jay Schultz? Where's a promise from him to go in and undo all of the damage done by Ellison and all these other people that have under the governor's executive orders, prosecuted and ruined the lives of all of these people? Almost every single freaking one of them a woman. Where is that effort? Why can Scott Jensen get on the stage of the convention and promise to commute the sentence of a convicted killer? She killed the man. She killed the young man. There again, you want to back the blue all damn day long. I don't care. Back them up all you want. She did wrong. And the governor that everybody wants, or the person that everybody wants, all the conservatives and all the constitutionally minded people to vote for, promised to commute her sentence and has said nothing about doing anything for any of the people who really suffered in these last few years, who have lost so much, whose lives have been destroyed. What about going in and saying, not only am I going to take all of these criminal charges, we're going to make them all go away, and we're also going to pay restitution to all of these people. That's where I would care. That's what it would make one say, hey, wow, that's a stand-up guy. But no, he goes on the platform of the state convention and promises to commute the sentence of Kim Potter and ignores, to the best of my knowledge, to hear him say anything about what he's going to do for the actual tangible victims of Governor Walz's policies during the shutdowns, during the lockdowns, during the mask mandates. Business after business after business after business after business after business after business was destroyed by Walz. And Jensen could step in and say, forget Kim Potter, I'm going to come help Lisa Hanson. Forget Kim Potter, I'm going to make sure Larvita McFarquhar gets back everything that she lost. Forget Kim Potter, I'm going to make sure that Lisa Monet Zarza gets everything back that she lost. I'm going to make sure that Jane up in Fargo or Moorhead gets everything that she lost, and all the penalties and all of the fights, and every single one of these business owners who lost so damn much but still got overtaxed, still had to pay all of their taxes, still had to pay all of their licensing fees, still had to pay for all of that. We haven't done anything for them. We haven't promised anything to these people who stood up on principle and ethics and did the right freaking thing. And he promises to commute the sentence of a convicted killer. Now, I have a right to be pissed off about that. And you could say, well, I'm not going to support you anymore because no, I'm telling you, Jensen's a better option. But I want him to walk back his promise to commute Kim Potter and promise to do something for the people who lost everything. Then I'll know he cares. But you want to know why Scott Jensen stood on that platform back in early May on that Saturday afternoon and promised to commute the sentence of Kim Potter? Because Republicans blindly back the blue all the time, without fail. There is not a single aspect of the Republican Party where questions of should we be backing them. Is everything they do always right? Kim Potter screwed up. And I'm sorry that her family has to be without her while she spends the next number of years, however long it is, in prison. I am truly sorry because of her mistake, because of her screw up, because of the problem that she created for herself. Everyone in her life now suffers. But Kim was convicted of an actual crime. Not a crime that was created by bad executive orders, but of a crime that was created by her negligence, at the very least. She suffers for that, and rightly so. She owes a penalty to the victims and the victims' family. Now, I wish there was a better way for her to pay that back here in the United States. I would love for her to not be in prison. What I would love is for her to be beholden to that family every day for the rest of her life, where she has to go and do their yard work and do their and clean their homes and take care of their vehicles and so on and so forth. That, to me, justice. It is that kind of justice in this world today. I don't know how you put a price on what she took when she killed that young man. I don't know. But I do know that she was convicted of an actual crime from her poor decision making. All of these other people, and once again the Lisa Hansons in particular, and others that have suffered, are suffering because they made the right decision. They're suffering because they made the ethical decision. They're suffering because they made the stand-up decision to do the right thing in the face of oppressive, tyrannical rule. And no one is promised to do anything for them when he takes office. And if he can commute the sentence of Kim Potter, he can damn sure go in and justify doing something for all of the people who suffered at the hands of Governor Walz during his his COOF reactions. End of story. He absolutely can. But he hasn't. And I have to ask myself why. Does that mean I don't want him to win? No. I want him to win, but I want him to do the right thing. I want him to do what's right in this situation. And commuting Kim Potter's sentence is not the right thing. It's an empty promise that he's ultimately going to be able to backtrack on. He's going to be able to step back and go, you know, I might have made the wrong statement. I should have maybe said that. Now that I've thought about it, I'm going to tell you that up front and be honest. I cannot in good conscience, in good faith, commute her sentence. He could do that. And I think that would be even more admirable. I would gain a massive amount of respect for him if he would do that. However, the big thing would be him interposing himself between the state and the victims of Governor Walz's lockdowns. Now, once again, I want Jensen to beat Walz. Definitely better than Walz. Here's something else. And I want you guys to hear me on this. It's not that I want this, but there is a reality in which we get what we deserve. Right? I've seen a lot of people go back to life as normal over the last 6 months especially. While others of us are still suffering from a whole slew of problems that arose during Walz's mandates, his executive orders. There are many of us that are still suffering because of the positions that we took during that time. most of the people, the state of Minnesota, have forgotten. They've forgotten about how much damage it did to the economy. It's gone out of their minds. Because I still see people arguing for how strong Minnesota's economy is. I still see people arguing for how wonderful the education system is in the state of Minnesota. You know, even having to overcome the COOF, you know, how they survived that. Parents, people, you know, they have gone back to life as normal. And many of those same people were the people who sheepishly complied with everything because they didn't want to be made uncomfortable. So, as much as I want Jensen to win, I think it's going to be a tough row for him to hoe. In worst case scenario, Walz wins. And if he wins, it's because it's what Minnesota deserves. If Walz wins, we get what we deserve. We get what we deserve. Just like California gets what they deserve under Gavin Newsom. Just like New York gets what they deserve under whoever they end up with. And even right now in New York, like the conservative option isn't really that conservative even. Jensen's a better candidate. I want Jensen to win. But I will also stand up and say if Walz wins, it's because Minnesota deserves Walz. They deserve it. Because the streets of Minnesota should have been packed full with thousands upon thousands of people every weekend at least, if not every day that we were ordered to stay home. If not every weekend, then every day that he told us we had to wear masks. And every weekend that our churches were shut down, the streets of Minnesota should have been packed full around the Capitol building and around the governor's residence. Should have been packed full. Thousands, not just a few hundred, not 500, thousands of people should have been out. Thousands. Every day. Peacefully, but daily. Or in as much as people could make it. But that didn't happen. There were times it was like pulling teeth to get people to even realize there was something going on. Which is why I'm concerned that all of this hype that somehow Jensen is the magic missile that's going to make all of the bad stuff that Walz did go away is somehow going to come in this red wave and is just going to sweep all of that away. And I think enough people have forgotten. And I don't know that we can beat the blue strongholds. I want what's best for Minnesota. And right now, it's Jensen. But there's a lot of things that he needs to fix. And one of them is the bad promise to commute Kim Potter. And then he needs to turn around and start affecting change for all of the people who suffered under Walz for things that they should have never been charged with, or the businesses that they've lost. All because Walz. If Jensen does that, that'll prove the mettle of the man. As always, my friends, as always, fight for your liberty. It is yours, and fight for your freedom. It belongs to you. Sic semper tyrannis.